Hi, everyone. We're group 13. My name is Danielle, and I'm here with Gabe, Goncalo, and Dario. We will be showing you the database program we created to run a used bookstore. So at this bookstore, we buy used books from customers, and we give them credit. The customers can then also purchase books using that credit. So I'm just gonna take us through the basic schema that we have. So we have, of course, employees at our bookstore, which just has basic employee information. Then we have our customer table, which also just has basic first name, last name information. And of course, that credit total, so they know how much money they have in their account. Then we have, of course, a book table, which has all the information for each book, including the price we purchase it for and the price that we sell it for. And then the last two go together, the order detail and the order. So the order is kind of like a whole receipt, and it has the total amounts and credit used and all that. And then the order detail is more like a receipt line that has each book and their price on it. So now each of us will walk you through some of the queries we set up that interact with these tables so we can run the used bookstore. So I'm going to hand it over to Gabe now.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Danielle. So now I'm gonna go over um, some of the most basic functions that we're gonna be needing for this project, right? I made two queries, right? So first I did add new employee, right? They have a first name and last name, a phone number, access level, and employee status. Okay. So by default, employee status is gonna be active since we are adding them to our grid, obviously. Right, and then the rest, we're gonna be getting them from the user. So to showcase how this actually works, I'm gonna open my screen side by side. Right, so here we have add new employee. Right, so let's add a new employee. We're gonna do Clark, Kent. We're gonna add a phone number. Right, so we have our standard 10-digit phone number. Then we're gonna give them an access level of 2. Right, that means they are almost at the maximum access level, but not quite yet, right? So we're gonna click add employee. It's gonna tell us a little message box right here. So we see that we successfully added Clark Kent into our network, right? So I have my SQL Workbench open right here. I'm gonna refresh it. And as you see here, we have Clark Kent. We have his phone number, his access level, an automatically generated employee ID, which is gonna be unique. This is our way of identifying Clark Kent. And then we have his status, right? So we can see if he's either active or he's no longer working with us. First, we thought of deleting other employees, but for purposes of record keeping, that is not the greatest idea. So that's why we mark them as terminated, but they are still in our database. Right, and then the next query that I'm gonna go over is mark employee as terminated, right? So once the relationship is not going through, we can go ahead and mark them as terminated. So we're gonna update the the employee row. We're going to change the status as terminated, right? So let's go over how this actually looks like in practice. Okay, so we're going to look him up by his ID. So we know that Clark Kent is employee number 3, right? That's his ID. When I click terminate, it's going to ask us for confirmation. You know, you don't want to do this lightly. But we have gone ahead and Clark Kent is marked as terminated. So we're going to update right here. And as you can see, Clark Kent is terminated. He is gone from our network. Okay, perfect. So that was the two queries of add new employee and then mark employee as terminated. I'm now going to pass it over to Gonzalo. Thank you.
Thank you, Gabe. Hello, I'm Goncalo, and I'm going to be talking about the two queries I worked on. First, I'll start with the add new customer query. For this one, this query adds a new customer to the customer table using their first name, their last name, and their email. Then the credit total and the customer status fields will default to 0 and active, as defined in the table schema. For the user input, the UI will present a form with a field for the first name, the last name, and the email. The user will then input these three uh, pieces of information. And when the user clicks Add Customer, the application will validate the input, meaning checking if the email is unique, and execute the query with the provided values. And then these following placeholders are replaced with the user input. After that, a new customer record is created in the database, and the UI may show a success message, something like customer John Doe has been added successfully. Next, I'm going to be talking about the mark employee is terminated query. For this query, it updates an employee status to terminated based on their employee ID. This effectively fires the employee, marking them as inactive. The UI might display a list of employees in a table, and then the user will select an employee and click the option to terminate the employee. A confirmation dialog may pop up, something along the lines of, "Are you sure you want to terminate John Doe?" You would have the option to confirm or cancel. If confirmed, the query runs with the selected employee ID, which will be in position of the placeholder, and the employee status will change to terminated in the database. The UI may update the employee list to reflect the change. An example would be the name of the employee that was terminated would be grayed out or something along the lines of that niche. Now, I'm going to pass it to Dario.
Thank you, Gonzalo. Hi, my name is Dario. The first query I made is add book and give credit to customer. The information such as book name, author name, book condition, average rating, ISBN 13, language, and number of pages are all included and would be gathered from the book. Information such as purchase price is the price that we bought it at from the customer and would be added to the customer's credit. Resale price is the price that we would be selling it at. Now I'm going to give you an example of how we would add it. There's an example from a book named Foundation. As you can see, I've filled out most of the information, and we can pick out a customer from our database. Let's say James 129 is their ID. There we go. They were given a credit of $10. And if we hit refresh right here, we see the credit of $10. Now, the second query I added is search book by ISBN. We can either do this by ISBN or ISBN 13. So we have two books right here. We have Dune and Foundation. And if we go back to the page, and as you can see, we can find Dune by its ISBN, or we can even find Foundation now that it's added. Now I will be passing it over to Danielle.
Thanks, Dario. Hey, it's Danielle again. So on my screen, I have our UI on the right, and then I just have the MySQL workbench open on the left so we can see what's going on. So I'm going to go over these last two queries. We have lookup credit. So this is if a customer comes to the counter and wants to know how much credit they have in their account. They're going to tell us their Gmail or their email. And then we press lookup, and this person has $5, as you can see over here, test at Gmail, credit total $5. All right, our last query is process order. This is when somebody comes and they're ready to purchase a book. So customer ID is going to be 2. We're going to load that customer. Now we know Testy McTest has $5. They have brought us this book they want to buy. On the back, it has the book ID, so we know. So we're just going to put that in. This takes information from the book table, like the name and the resale price, and puts it in an order detail, which is again like the receipt line. They also have brought us this book, but I can't see the ID number. I'm not sure, so I'm gonna type in the ISBN number. So search book. So we've got that book on there. And then we're gonna scroll down. As the employee, we're gonna type in our ID. So if we ever need to tie back who did the order, we know who did the order. It also tells them how much credit they have available. They want to use all their credit, so we're going to type in 5, and you can see that updated that. So this preview order just kind of gives you a run by of everything that happened, the subtotal, the credit they use, and then the final amount. And then each of these lines is like a receipt line, and it takes from the book and puts it in the order detail. So we're good with that. And now we want to complete our order. Are you sure you want to? Yes. Order 7 successfully completed. Yes, we'll clear the order. And now we can go over here and see this order is in our table. Used all this credit, total amount, the date, who rung it up, the employee. And then the details are of each book in that order. So it ties it all to order ID 7, book ID, and the price. So that is everything. So in summary, our database handles pretty much the core functions of running a used bookstore. It tracks inventory, customer accounts, our employees, and then processing orders. So I just want to say thank you to my group mates and thank you for watching.